I get asked all the time, how do you position yourself for marriage? Is more than just going on dating apps, going to social events. Here is the exact framework. Welcome to Recognizable Wife Podcast, and today I am literally going to share with you the exact framework, the exact strategy I used to position for marriage. Like, this framework literally helped me to be found by my husband. And I believe you can have the relationship that you desire as a woman of faith without playing small and without following societal dating and relationship rules. You can have the relationship you want, and you can be the stay-at-home wife that you desire to be. You can be the wife who is an entrepreneur. Like, you literally can have the life, the relationship that you want. I get asked all the time, how do you position yourself for marriage? And truthfully, positioning yourself for marriage is more than just going on dating apps, going to social events, going to meetups. It's more than that. It's a deeper level. And here is the exact framework or strategy I used. And the first thing is refinement. This is where you become a woman of depth. Years ago, I was in this relationship and it felt like I was auditioning for a part in his life. And the day came, I questioned, who was I? And that moment was everything to me because I realized that I was lost and I didn't know myself, but I knew how to be the person who would aim to please the person that I was with. And a light bulb went off, and that was the moment I realized a refinement needed to happen. And it wasn't about changing for a man, but it was about becoming a woman of depth for myself. So I started my healing journey, and I started to set boundaries and redefine what I wanted for myself. I started to feel like I didn't have to be the good girl anymore to be chosen. I could be me for the very first time, and that relationship started to have less of a grip on me. And this is what refinement is about. It's not about perfection, but it's about getting to know the real you. And this is where readiness for marriage begins. The second part of this framework is alignment. And this is where you become a woman of gentle power or soft power. I remember being so angry and so bitter because I started to believe that love didn't exist for me. I became this hardcore person, and truthfully, I really didn't want to be this way because I wanted to be cherished and I wanted to be a priority. I realized I was out of alignment and I was wearing all of this protective gear around my heart. I was very defensive. And at the same time, I wanted to be understood. Then one day after crying, I realized how tired I was. I was tired of having all of this protective gear around my heart. I was tired of being angry at myself and angry at men in my past. I was tired of being the woman who equated power and protection to being hardcore and defensive. I wanted to be powerful yet gentle and inviting. And this was the beginning of alignment for me. I started to learn not to lead with force, but to flow and have grace. Alignment isn't about weakness, but it is where softness and strength meets. It's knowing that you don't have to chase love or prove yourself, and that's soft power. And it not only makes a woman ready for marriage, but it makes a woman ready to build something sacred. The third part of this framework is cultivation, being the woman of readiness. There was a time I was so focused on just meeting the person that I would marry. And it got to the point where I was idolizing marriage. It was like having tunnel vision on the idea of marriage. And at that time, I really thought I was ready for marriage. And the thing is, I was preparing for something that I had no clue what it really entailed. I wanted to be married, but I didn't know how to navigate conflict. I wanted a godly man, but I wanted the finished product And even though I was saying that I know no one is perfect, but at the same time, I still wanted this finished product. I was building this imaginary future, but not looking at the present. And I remember looking at women in the church and seeing how they would act or respond to their husbands. And I remember saying to myself that I don't want to be like that. Like, I want to be different. I don't want that. And so I started cultivating, and I didn't want to wait anymore to be a wife, but I was getting ready for purpose and partnership. And so I continued to heal from past heartbreaks without the closure that I was so desperately looking for at one point. I learned to steward the things and be grateful for the things that God gave me, such as singleness, right? Taking advantage of singleness, and also my body. I was practicing abstinence, but I realized that abstinence was something to honor God and not to get a good man. I invested in being the woman who could have a healthy relationship and not just attract one. Marriage isn't a reward, but it is an assignment. And cultivation is the soil where purpose and legacy grows. And the last part of this framework is embodiment, being a woman of demand. I used to explain and go above and beyond to show my worth. I wanted to make sure I said the right things. I wanted to make sure that I looked the part so I could be chosen. I made myself available all the time, and I waited for someone to rise to the level I was hoping for. And then I finally stopped saying what I wanted, and I became the thing that I wanted in my life, and I began to move differently. I stopped overgiving. I stopped overfunctioning. I stopped being too available, and I started to embody the love that I wanted for myself. And everything changed for me. I remember going on a date, and at that time, I remember not feeling like I needed to prove that I was wife material. I was just me. I was a woman who was soft, confident, and powerful. I remember my date telling me that I carried myself differently, and the energy that I had, it just exuded. And the beautiful thing is, I didn't shrink myself or hesitate about what I required, because when you embody your worth, it creates demand and not desperation. You don't attract from effort, but you attract from essence. And this is exactly what it means to be a woman of demand. You're not boastful, you're not rude, but you are deeply aligned and you are unforgettable. I was able to meet my husband because I stopped shrinking and started growing with intention. And this is exactly why I created the Courtship Code program. And this is not a program that gives you false hope or just focus on mindset, but it's a practical blueprint that literally walks you through the process of getting ready for marriage, literally positioning for marriage. Readiness isn't about being perfect, but it is about being prepared spiritually, emotionally, and relationally. So if you are done just waiting and you are ready to become the woman who is recognized as a wife, a recognizable wife, then you need to apply to the Courtship Code program. It's never too late. You're right on time.